Welcome to Cross Examine with the Gerbers. I'm Ken Gerber, and this is my wife, Megan Gerber.
Hi.
At Cross Examine, we like to bring our faith, the law, our family, and our ministry all together in one place. We've got a special guest with us here today. Megan, you want to introduce him?
Yes, it is Jeff Smith. And Jeff has a plethora of background with military, guns, training, God. Tell everybody who you are, Jeff.
My name is Jeff Smith, and I really appreciate you having me here, Ken and Megan. We've known each other close to a year maybe now, and I've done some work with you guys. I've really gotten to know you. I really appreciate this. I think this is a great opportunity. Unfortunately, when events that have happened, like in the past couple of weeks, we talk about different awareness things that need to be happening, regardless if you're somebody that carries a gun or somebody that wants to be protecting yourself or others or things like that. And so if you go all the way back, to my childhood, I was a Boy Scout, was privileged enough to go to the World Jamboree in 1979. I was one of 64 boys in the United States that was selected. It was a huge selection process. But I realized at that moment when I got selected that I was actually a sheepdog. And people talk about being sheepdogs, sheep and wolves and sheepdogs. And so I want to talk a little bit about that right off the top, so you can understand at least where I'm coming from when I talk about being a sheepdog. And but sheepdog is not necessarily somebody that is prepared to take somebody else's life through self-protection. A sheepdog is somebody that is going to respond to a critical incident, whether that's making a phone call, being first aid, controlling the environment that's there, or being in security. Now, as I got trained up through 12 years in the military and then going through civilian training and getting involved with churches and church security and getting up to a point where I'm actually, the lead instructor now for a couple of the larger churches here in the Phoenix area. And so being a part of their security and even their standard operating procedures, how does the team respond? What is it looking for? Because churches need to be open.
And those are some big churches. Are you allowed to say who they are?
The biggest one, of course, is CCV. I've done some work with Trinity Church. I've done some Mark Driscoll's church and Dream City Church. And some other churches that in the Valley that have used my consulting or used my training or something like that. So I'm very honored to be a part of that, and always like to see that churches are actually training.
And that's probably where you met Charlie and Erika Kirk, was through Dream City.
So I met them actually. I got a phone call from Dan Flood, who is the director of his executive protection team, and he talked to me and said that some of the team members needed their CCW, which included Erika. And so I was honored. That was kind of a neat ask. And yes, it was Dream. He had reached out to Dream City. Dream City said, "Hey, we're using this Jeff Smith. He seems to be a good guy." Gave him the phone number and he called me. That's how we got connected. And so we set up some dates. We set up some times that we could get together. And so Erika was there and got to do a one-on-one, if you will, CCW for her. Charlie was traveling a lot, and she was going to start carrying a gun, and so she wanted to know what the laws were, and so I was honored to do that for her.
And so when you say that you see yourself as a sheepdog, I'm envisioning the person who takes it upon themselves to really protect and secure other people.
So if you think about, the average person in the United States is really a sheep. They're they're oblivious to their surroundings, and there are wolves amongst us everywhere. And so whether they're looking at their phone or just not aware of what's going on, the sheepdog should be aware of what's going on. The sheepdog is constantly watching, constantly, now not for necessarily a threat, but for, hey, that doesn't look right, right? We call those anomalies. And so you see something. Unfortunately, the human race is the most predictable animal on the planet, but it's also the most vicious animal on the planet.
Sure.
Most people don't even know they're being watched or being looked at, and a criminal is not looking for you; they're looking for an opportunity.
So going to maybe the train with Irina, maybe if she would have been off of her phone and had her back to the window of the train, thinking about her surroundings, do you think that would have maybe?
So I think with that, I want to go all the way back to when she stepped on the train. Right.
Okay.
And she takes a look around. Who makes eye contact with her? She looks around, and she immediately went to a seat, and that seat happened to be not a very safe place to be because it was open to her back. There was nobody beside her. There was no good exit point. Maybe it was right a couple of steps from the door, but it was across the aisle, right? And there's somebody sitting behind her. That would absolutely not be my first choice. Now, if it was the only choice, I probably would have stood up and stayed standing and had my head on a swivel.
So what seat would you have picked if you were her?
So if you look in the video that I saw, there were 3 seats immediately on the same side as the door that she entered on the train. The third seat was up against a wall, and it faced out to the aisle. That would have been the seat that I would have chose. And reason being is because of the proximity of who else could be there, could be around me. And I was looking out at everybody else. I wouldn't have been on my phone. Again, my head's up, my eyes are looking, because you'll spot anomalies. Even if you're not trained, you'll go, why'd they do that? Mm-hmm. That does. And a lot of us will call those DLRs, don't look right. Well, that just don't look right. And so if you think that, you are probably correct.
You got to follow your gut.
Yeah. And so there's a book out there. I'll recommend it to everybody. If you haven't read it, you need to read it. And it's called The Gift of Fear. Even though the Bible says fear not, God gave us the gift of fear. And what I mean by that is he have you ever seen a deer drink water at a lake or a pool of water?
Right.
And he hears a noise, and his neck snaps back, and he looks around at the noise. He's not looking to see if that's a happy-go-lucky mountain lion.
No.
He's looking at, okay, there was a sound over there. It's coming from that direction. My exit is that way. And he doesn't care if he offends the mountain lion. He leaves. He'll get water later. Not us, not humans. No. We don't want to offend anybody. I'll just wait to see if it's a guy that's going to hurt me. And so if your short hairs on the back of your neck say something's wrong, they are wrong.
And so what you're advocating for people in that situation, and again, not trying to, point any fingers at her. It's a very unfortunate situation. It's just horrible. And it's really infuriating that it happened the way that it did. But you're advocating for people when they enter onto a train like that or any situation like that, head up, not on your phone, look around, survey the area, and make some informed decisions.
Think about another situation where you enter into an elevator.
Oh, yeah. I've been in elevators with Skyla, and Skyla goes, Mom, hurry up, hit the button. If that person comes in, let's leave.
Yeah.
And, it is very scary because they could hit the stop button or they could hit something in that elevator and you're stuck with that person.
If you walk onto an elevator and somebody else walks on, you should be evaluating that person's size,
Yep.
their age, whether they're maybe on drugs or influenced by something, not about anything other than could they hurt me? So Gavin DeBecker interviewed people that he could that were involved in critical incidents for the gift of fear. He was an FBI profiler, and some of the people he couldn't interview.
What does that mean?
Because they were dead. So every single one of the people he could interview said, I knew something was wrong and I did nothing about it.
Gotcha.
Interesting, because, and this is not exactly about this, but when I was joining the Navy, I actually had my recruiter sexually harass me. He asked me to go back into a room because he said, you need to go and get your medical testing. And he was in his 40s. And I thought, oh, he's like my dad. You know, my dad was chief of police. He has on a uniform. He's to be trusted. And we went back there and he goes, you need to take off your pants so I can measure you. And I felt like something was wrong. And so he got on his knees and he took his measuring tape. I'm 19 years old and he measured me. And he then started rubbing my thigh and asked me if I'd ever dated an older man. And I thought at that moment, I knew this felt weird. We're in a room with vacuums. This is wrong. And I bent down, pulled up my pants, and I went to the door and it was locked. And I let myself out and he actually got court-martialed. Like what you're saying is it felt weird that he goes, I need to measure you first. We need to go back into this room. We need to shut the door. I see all the cleaning supplies. But I'm 19 and this is this guy that's around my dad's age and I'm trusting him. And I think that's... But
the anomalies started to add up.
Yes, it did. But sometimes that could have been too late.
Absolutely. A lot of times we suppress the gift of fear that God has given us as human beings. We've kind of suppressed that. And so this book will allow you to start using that gift again, that anomalies appear and we tend to push them aside. So I highly recommend this book. It's one of the books that I train different classes on. I give little pieces of information on that. And so I don't expect everybody to carry a gun. Matter of fact, probably it's a good idea that not everybody carries a gun, but everybody should have some type of training in awareness. And not everybody is a sheepdog, but you have to know how you're going to react when adrenaline and dopamine are dumped into your system.
My dad used to say, if you're going to carry a gun, be ready to use it if you have to use it. That's the hardest part is people will take it possibly and use it on you if you're not ready.
Yeah, I love people that come into my classes and say, well, if somebody broke into my house, I would do this and this and this. And I look right then and there, and I look them and I say, because you've done that before?
Right.
Well, that's exactly right. And I've thought about this so many times. I think people really underestimate the influence of adrenaline on them in an unknown situation. They're not going to react the way they think they're going to.
Don't you have a story from somebody, they all shot the bushes or something?
Yeah, I was a prosecutor with a guy who was former military, and he was much older. He was actually in the jungles in Southeast Asia, and he talks about his platoon on patrol through the jungle and at night, and they meet up with the opposing force, and they just all started firing at each other. And in the morning, there was not a single person that was dead, but all the foliage of all the trees were completely gone because guys were just waving their guns around. They were so scared that nobody was, I guess, probably following their training or really focused under the fear and the adrenaline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And darkness will play a lot of tricks on you. And then you have to think about not only the dopamine and adrenaline that's dumped into your system, but what have you put into your system? Caffeine, nicotine, cocaine, whatever it is, right? So we put these stimuluses into our body, and regardless of what that is, I'm not judging anybody, but then something happens that presents itself as a critical incident. And that could be anything, right? A car wreck, somebody knocking on the door at 3:00 in the morning.
And you've been drinking yourself to sleep, and now you're drunk answering the door, and something bad is going to happen, possibly.
Yeah. So, and most people don't train to that level, right? So why do people come to training?
They want to carry a gun. They want to feel safe. They want to protect themselves and their family.
I would think that when I have come to training, it's so that I can protect my family, myself, if there's a bad guy.
Okay. So I would argue that you come to training for stress inoculation.
Please explain.
So you want to be able to make decisions under stress.
That's why you should be going to it?
Yeah. So we focus on the fundamentals in my class. So once you've mastered the fundamentals, now I just add a little bit of stress. And the next time you come, we practice the fundamentals and we add a little more stress. And we add a little more stress and we add a little more stress so that you can make decisions under a stressful situation. Because maybe it's not a gun.
Maybe it's a hatchet.
Maybe it's a communication.
Oh.
Right? Have you ever called 911 and what's the operator say to you?
What's your emergency?
What's the first question?
What's your name? Who's your daddy?
Where are you?
Right. All right.
And how many people go, I'm at home.
Where is that?
Right. That doesn't help me. I'm by the tree.
Well, that's great. Could you tell me what the address is?
Yeah.
Okay. Where is your emergency? That's the first question. Because if they don't have that information, guess what?
Don't they have a tracker?
Yeah, technology's great, huh?
I
They
mean,
want to know where you're at, right? If it's a landline or if it's a cell phone that you've got that turned off, they want to know where you are.
and naming that though, you know what? We have these perfect phone cameras, but yet whenever there's somebody that they're trying to look for, it's the fuzziest security camera. It's like you can see the moon, but yet they're going to give you this, like, we're looking for this person. And it's like, great. I see like dots of eyes and like, what
And they're wearing a black shirt and a black hat.
Yes.
Right.
What is up with that? Like, can't they do better?
Yeah.
I mean, like, are we in the 1970s with these cameras?
Well, it's amazing that security cameras have been up probably now close to 30, 40 years, and some of those cameras have not been changed out. Security is very expensive. Physical security is even more expensive. So having cameras that have 4K or 1080,
Yeah.
unless somebody's truly into that business, we have that at our house because of being an FFL and an SOT. I want to be able to just hand over a disc to the police officer and say,
Right.
there you go.
Right.
Right? That's
Right.
not my job. It's their job.
Right. Now, I just have a question for you. If we can go back, and we were talking beforehand about the who's, the whys, the whats, and you said something really amazing about, I think that as a conservative and someone that supports Trump, I think that I'm talking about the conservative group, have gone into such a deep dive into everything up until this point. This is fake, the fake news, the fake this. We're so used to going in and trying to analyze things to see where we're being lied to. And I had asked you some questions about the shooting of Charlie Kirk and all that. And you said, we should focus really on not who, but God. And can you explain more about that?
Absolutely. That was a tragic event. And I truly, after meeting Charlie and meeting Erika and knowing his team, I know that it's unbelievable.
Because people are blaming his team at this point.
Sure, they're going to blame anything but the true facts. And now an ambush is really hard to stop or to counter. Okay. Maybe we could have done some things to stop that, but if that was truly God's will, then maybe it happens somewhere else in a tragic car accident or something, and we go, why? We'll spend time and energy on that and not spend time in God's word or with people that we truly love and cherish. And I think that a tragic event like this brings people together closer, and it should bring our movement closer together. I read an article where Charlie had 1.7 million followers the day that that incident happened, and he has over 11 million today.
Wow.
Okay. That's pretty amazing.
That is.
Yeah. And I think we were also hearing that church attendance this past weekend was increased exponentially.
I couldn't get a parking spot. I had to drive home and walk to church.
But you're right. It was important. I think we were all going and looking for wise words and help in dealing with this situation and dealing with the grief from it, because it hit home for a lot of people.
So getting prepared for this, when you reached out to me and asked me to be on this podcast, I was honored. I was truly honored. I mean that, and so, but I wanted to be prepared, and I looked up, how many times is fear not in the Bible? And unfortunately, we've got, hundreds of Bibles that editions of rendering. So somewhere between 300 and 365. And when that number popped up, I was like, one per day.
Right.
I learned early on, I can't remember who told me this, but I want to say I was probably 16 or 17. I hadn't graduated high school yet. I knew that. But somebody told me that if fear knocks on the door, if you answer it with faith, you will find nobody. And I was like, what? And he said, because fear and faith cannot exist in the same place at the same time.
So going with that, and I love that, I was talking to Jack, our son, today, and I said, at what point do you go out and say, I am not fearful? So for Charlie, maybe he didn't have, certain security measures because he just trusted God, and God is, the will of God. So where would you say, as an instructor and who trains on things like this, situations, where do you say, I need to do more because God isn't going to protect me? Where is that balance? Because if God is going to protect you, then you think, I don't need more. I'm just going to go out. And if today's my day, then today's my day.
So I'm not saying that God is going to protect you. I'm not saying that. I mean, it's evident, right?
Right.
If we look through history at, and I will say, I think this is a good point to say that, you look at all the people that said we should live together in harmony have been shot or killed in some way. That's kind of
interesting.
That's an anomaly.
Yeah, it's telling.
And so, and there are some people out there that say eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth and live by the sword, die by the sword. And we look at the full armor of God, right? And what is the sword in the full armor of God?
The sword is the word.
Is the word of God.
Yeah.
Right. Why? The tongue is the sharpest thing.
Right.
Right. Because it can love,
right,
or it can hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And so if I put on the full armor of God, I need to know the word, because who knows it better than I do? The devil.
The devil does.
Oh, he knows it better than everybody else.
Absolutely. And he tried to use it against Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
If you look at him being tested, right? And he taught in parables. I think that's awesome. I think we've gotten away from that. But every time I go through the Bible, I'm like, oh, that's why they call it the Living Bible, right? Because I get another nugget out of it. I've read that passage before, but I get a different nugget out of it, and I think that's kind of neat. And that's, to me, why it's a living Bible.
Yeah, it's almost like you're not ready for that until you're ready for it.
Right. So
and then you're like, oh, this is what this means.
The teacher
right now.
will appear when the student is ready.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So pretty cool about that. I like that. The first time I read through the Bible, I was in the military. And I go, wow, there's a lot of war in the Bible. So that's really odd. Well, the second time I went through it, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of killing in the Bible.
It is brutal.
And I'm like, wow, this is kind of, so I actually got that perspective the third and probably even the fourth time got through that. And I was like, wow, this is really different than I thought it was. And I think we need as a society, I look at Charlie Kirk, especially now, unfortunately, that he's gone, but I look at, he was a civil rights leader, right? I mean, he talked about freedom of speech. He gave everybody a platform to talk about anything they wanted. And he wasn't telling them to be MAGA. He wasn't telling them to be right wing. He wasn't telling them to be a Republican. He was saying what the Bible said about the issue. And I think that we try to tell what our opinion is on different subject matters. Well, I really don't care what your opinion is. I want to know how to deal with that. And this book talks about how to deal with different situations. And I think personally that we've gotten away from that.
Well, I think it all became with the PC movement, politically correct. You can't say that. You can't do that. You might hurt somebody's feelings. And, I saw one time I heard Charlie say, would you lie to someone you love? And this person had said, they were talking about them being transgender or what was a woman. And he said, would you lie just to make someone happy?
I think every parent in the United States lies to their child by telling them they're Santa Claus.
No, that's true. That is true.
I think to your point, in our country, it feels like we have elevated feelings and emotions above reason
Truth
and law and order and, cold hard facts and analysis.
Well, people will say, well, your Bible says because I'm gay, if I am doing that, that's a sin and I may go to hell. And obviously I'm not God, or I murdered someone, or they want to label things in the Bible and then say, your Bible says I'm a bad person. And at that moment, you're supposed to go, well, no. What you're doing is okay. It's okay. That's what being politically correct means.
Okay.
Where that's why when Charlie would say, I love you enough to tell you, if we're talking the Bible, what you're saying is not correct.
Well, it's
and
difficult.
then they call him names and saying he's a bigot, he's a this and that, whatever they call.
It's difficult when society is based off of a sliding scale of what's right and wrong. And when you look to the Bible, when you look to the Word of God, it's an objective set of what's right and wrong. And that's what you really need to base things off of. You can't just have this sliding scale. Well, it feels right today, so it should be right.
How many people have asked you, I wish there was an owner's manual? Well, there is.
There is.
Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the other thing is, please show me in the Constitution where you have a right not to be offended.
There isn't one.
No.
I know.
No,
And if
the
you know me
exact
long
opposite.
enough, I'm going to offend you.
Yeah.
The exact
Sorry.
opposite. The First Amendment allows us the right to offend people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you have to realize that's their right to offend you. It's your right to offend them. Words are only words.
Yeah. Sticks and stones may break my bones.
Yes. Thank
But
you.
words will never hurt me, right? And so I think that we've gotten to a point in society where words do hurt us, and words do offend us, and words do, I can't talk to you because you're spewing hate. No, I'm sorry, I'm not spewing hate. I'm spewing the truth. Truth might be painful.
Right.
But it is the truth. And so you can deal with that, or you can, now we don't want violence, right?
No.
I mean, this
you can agree to
person-
disagree.
This person, where was the place is that, and my wife and I do this all the time. Well, we'll just agree to disagree.
Yes.
Right. But we still live together. We still love each other.
Right.
We still, that is still a relationship that is, growing. And we have 3 people in our relationship, right? We have to have God. God has to be in that relationship. If it's not, we could end up separated. And but God is truly in the foundation of our relationship, and so we tend to separate when we have a disagreement, and we'll both go look into the Bible, and we'll come back together and say, well, this is what I found.
Right.
Great advice.
Well, you know what I find so hypocritical with people calling the right or conservatives or even moderates fascists, but yet here Charlie died and they called him a fascist, but yet they unalived him. You have to say that for TikTok. They assassinated him and calling him the fascist.
Yeah, so it's funny you bring up that word. I've asked a couple of people, what is a fascist? What do you believe that is? And they're like, well, it's whoever the person is, right? Trump or this. Or,
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
What's the definition?
What's the definition of the word? What does it mean? And I said, let's not even go into the dictionary. What does it mean to you? Because that's the most important thing.
Right.
What does it mean to you? And a lot of times, unfortunately, the media spins this up and they start using these words that they don't even know what they mean. Well, he's a fascist. Well,
what is that?
What is that? What does that mean? And when you truly meet them with the meaning, they go, "Oh, well, that's not what he does."
Well, if you get somebody that will rationally listen to you,
most of them, yeah.
Most of the time they won't. There's so many people that'll say, even right now, Trump's a racist. They would ask Charlie, Trump's a racist. Okay, name one thing he did that was racist.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you. I just know. Well, how do you know? I don't know. I just know because
he's
that's
a criminal. Criminal crime. What was his crime?
right?
Well, he went to jail, or when?
Right.
When did he go to jail?
Right. Well, and the other thing that we heard just recently was so good, and it was the fascist comment that, that's somebody killing their political opposition. Who's doing that? But the other thing is all of the gun control advocates on the left, but yet they're cheering when somebody from the left uses a gun to kill their opposition.
Yeah. So you saw the riots this past week, right?
Oh yeah, all the
Buildings,
riots.
the buildings burning down and the cars being flipped over.
Right. No, that was the prior
when
administration.
Yeah. So it's kind of odd that, they don't see that. Do we still know anything about the kid that tried to assassinate Trump?
Nope.
Nothing.
That's weird.
Right.
Yeah.
But we know a lot about this guy.
Right.
Just a couple of days after what has happened here. So I think, again, I don't want to focus on the who, I think I want to get back to the Bible and say, hey, how do I deal with this? How do I help people process this?
Well, let me ask you, here's something that I wanted to know from you, because we've talked before in the time that we've known each other. I know that you've been through combat, you've seen a lot of things, and this death of Charlie Kirk was very public, very graphic, and for most of us, that's not something that we're used to seeing, we've ever seen, or really should see.
Well, they don't even usually put it on TikTok or social media. They don't allow it normally.
Well, I mean, there was 3,000 people there that were live streaming. It's hard to control that. But it certainly is controlled now, right? The platforms have taken most of those down. Even the links that I saved
are down.
And so,
but at
I
this
don't
point, we
think-
can't unring the bell.
No,
a lot
you
of us
can't
have seen it.
unsee that.
So my question to you is, how should we deal with what we've seen? How do we handle the emotion and the tragedy of actually seeing that happen to somebody?
Well, I think the number one thing we need to do is be in prayer, and that we lay it down at the Father's feet, and I process it a little bit differently. I've been trained, been involved in situations like that, and it's unfortunate, but if you, especially in battle or in combat or in some type of conflict, you have something to complete, and so that you cannot stop what you're doing and deal with that. So you have to keep going, right? You'll deal with it at another time. I'm going to the funeral. I think that's going to help me grieve, help me get to the acceptance part of this, right? I have to accept what happened and not ball up anger. I think we as a Christian society need to accept that, and Erika said it so well. If you watched her speech,
We did.
Right.
God is good. From a woman that just lost her husband, her father of her two children, the love of her life, to say that God is good, I think should help us all say how strong she is and how. Now, it doesn't mean that she's not determined. And so I pray for the Kirk family. I pray for the organization. I pray for the people that were in the audience that saw that were not prepared to see something like that ever.
Right.
And you do know that people are saying that the audience was AI and this didn't really happen. Would you say to those people, knowing personally people involved, that is absolutely not true?
I would say that. I mean, I don't have anything to the contrary.
Yeah, I just would like to put that out there because there's some people out there that are saying the audience is AI. This never happened. So I just like to kind of debunk that.
Well, they're probably in some form of denial.
Okay.
I would say get in the Bible.
Yeah. Those people are probably not in the Bible, but maybe they.
And that's unfortunate. I mean, we live in a society. I work with a lot of police officers, and unfortunately, they have to deal in the reality that the person is in.
Yeah.
And that's scary. I didn't quite understand that, but through some training that I've taken personally, especially for mental health, that our society is having to deal with. Unfortunately, that happened back in the 80s where we said it's not humane to keep people in insane asylums.
Right.
Let's leave them out on the street.
Right.
I think it's
That's
humane.
a better place.
I think it's humane. I had a guy, I was in Tinley Park, Illinois, and there was a mental institution. This was back in 1978, or maybe it was 79. But I was getting a tab drink from the refrigerator, and there was a front door, side door. We lived on a tri-level. My mom and my brother were downstairs. My sister was upstairs. We were going to take a bath together. We were little. And so I drink the tab, and you remember those vacuums where it's like the vacuum is like a pod, and then there's a stick, and there's like a vacuum.
Oh, yeah.
So it was one of those.
Canister vacuum.
What was it? A canister vacuum. And so I go into the hall, and the living room was right there, and it was dark, and it used to always scare me. So I jumped two steps on our olive green carpeting back in the 70s.
Shag?
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
And I turn around, and there's a guy there.
Nice.
He had a Michael Jackson jacket on. He goes and grabs my foot as I'm running up the stairs. My dad was chief of police at Richmond Park at the time. I go running down the hall. I go lock myself in our bathroom, and I start screaming down the vent in our floor that there was somebody in our house. And I'm like, help, help, there's somebody in the house, there's somebody in the house. My brother eventually comes upstairs and he's like, what are you yelling about? So I go running downstairs, come to find out, my description was one of the mentally ill patients they let go on a walk that night. And he went into our house and grabbed my foot. I don't know what else happened, but that messed me up for a while.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I think that we've had, as a society, we've all had to learn to deal with this in some form or fashion. Maybe you have something like this in your family. Maybe you have something, but maybe in your neighborhood or something like that. I've come into contact with people of different variants of mental illness. We have lots more people on the spectrum, if you will.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to recognize it, for one, and then, okay, have a plan now to deal with that. Early on, officers would tell somebody, drop the weapon, drop the weapon, drop the weapon. A couple different things going on there. One, they're in a cognitive loop. If they don't do it by the second time, stop talking.
Right.
Right? So if you tell somebody back up, back up, back up, you're in a cognitive loop. If
You're the one that's stuck.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you need to understand that they're not understanding the words that are coming out of your mouth. I'll use that as a movie.
Oh,
reference.
I understand.
Right.
So you change tactics, you do something
You
else.
got to change
something
something
else.
else. Right. And so not necessarily words, but action. Right. So, whoa, time out. Right. So I can say the words, I can say this is an international sign to what?
Stop.
Okay.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
Right.
Right. What's this?
Time
I'm
out.
out.
International sign time out. Right.
Uh-huh.
Oh, time out.
Yeah.
I want to have a conversation with you, but I'm not going to have it at this level.
Right.
You got to come down here. Right. And the whole time you could be backing up, giving space, because space gives me time and time gives me options. And in a situation like that, I want as many options as I can have. Again, I may or may not have a gun. Right. And I'm talking about other people, not me personally.
Right. Yeah,
Now,
obviously.
we have a couple more minutes left. On that last couple of minutes, do you think it's the start of a revival?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, absolutely. I'm so thrilled. I think lots of questions. I was just talking to a young man today, as a matter of fact, and he says, "I see you have a Bible on your desk. Do you mind answering a couple questions for me?" And I'm like, absolutely.
Nice.
I think we need to be in the Bible. I think we need to know the word. It's really important. I think we need to put on the full armor of God. Again, I will tell you, I'm not asking you to carry a gun. I'm asking you to get some training so that you are aware of your surroundings. That will stop 99% of the issues that you may run into. If you're walking up to your house and somebody is following you, that's probably not a good place to be. I'm just saying.
So, Jeff, if they wanted to come to you for training, can you tell everyone how they can find you? And we will add some links to the podcast.
Yeah, so my company is Arizona Firearms Instructors. I actually focus on people becoming instructors. What that means is I think everybody should be instructor. I don't think everybody should teach. But if you're going to train with a gun, wouldn't it be nice to know what is happening with your fundamentals? So as an instructor, you have the information so that you can make the changes you need to on your own because you've been through an instructor class.
So anybody that hasn't even used a gun can come and see you.
Yeah, absolutely. I do what's called a basics of pistol shooting course, and that starts with the 5 fundamentals. And then I don't get you into an advanced class after that. I actually have a skills and drills that I recommend that you come to and start learning and recognizing the fundamentals.
Have you ever trained anybody who's a better shot than you?
Not yet.
Last thing, is there a favorite verse you'd like to leave us with?
I have a lot of, I read every day. But yes, John 3:16 is probably got by far. That was the first one I memorized. It was the first one that somebody got me into the book, and I said, if that is true, if that's true,
everything else is gravy.
yeah.
Thank you for joining us on Cross Examine with the Gerbers. Don't forget, we do own Gerber Injury Law. So if you're injured, don't be afraid. We would love to hear from you. 623-486-8300. Bye.